Alright. Pass the Checkride. So, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. Roll the intro first. See you on the other side. Well, I passed my private pilot's Checkride, so yeah, let me tell you the long, hard journey I took to get down there. So, the night before, we took a plane, or we took the plane, Bayflight 17, down to Paso Robles. We stayed the night in a hotel just to get out of the weather for the morning. Did a little bit of studying, ate dinner, and then went back to sleep. Then from there, I did some calculations in the morning, and we went to the airport. As the TP got there, we went upstairs, did the paperwork, did everything, started the test. This was the oral portion of the test. So this oral portion of the test, we did everything up until the actually, we did everything. We did everything on the oral. The only thing is, when it came to calculating performance, like performance data, like the short field takeoff, short field landing, and the high altitude situation, I flipped. So what happened? I was using the pressure altitude density altitude formula, which is not as accurate as using a CX3 flight computer or a E6B flight computer or a density altitude chart. So what I would say to recommend is don't use the don't use the equation to figure out your density altitude, pressure altitude, but use your use a E6B or a CX3 or a density altitude chart to find that. Another reason is, like, a good investment to get into the CX3 is that you could do a whole bunch of like hold calculations. It kind of works for everything technically, and it's really solid. Although it's plastic, but still works as a charm. Yeah, so that kind of threw me off because I got some answer that was like 1,000 numbers off of this number. So I'm just like, oh man, I don't know this. What's going on? My head's like spinning 1,000 times, and I figure, oh, well, looks like can't quite do it. It's kind of like resignation, which is a bad thing when you're on a pilot. Bad attitudes. So take this and you put in whatever it is. So when we came back after he told me I failed, so he told me I failed at that moment, and he was like, "Do you want to continue or not?" And I was like, "Okay." Well, I mean, I'm not quite in a mental state to finish the test, but let's give it a shot. Let's just finish what we can, get it done with, so we don't have to do it later. So I go ahead and do it, and we finish the rest of the oral Checkride. So that was the oral Checkride. I'm like 50% done with the Checkride already. So we come back that day, and I have to, for like the next 3 weeks, I had to work on getting my calculations all done, and my just reviewing the calculations, how to calculate and stuff. In that process, I learned that using the pressure altitude and density altitude formula wasn't as accurate as using your E6B or your CX3 or your density altitude chart. So that's what I came in with the next test. Next test is it was in January 18th, so it was about a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago, and we flew up the morning before. So I woke up very early and took the plane, did a pre-flight, and we flew out to Paso Robles. When we got down to Paso Robles, we secured the plane. We put the plane, made sure it's ready for the next check ride. So then we go inside and we wait, and we got lunch, and then we waited another 2 hours. By the time 2 hours was up, DP came in, we did the paperwork, and we filed everything, and I did the calculations. I did my takeoff calculations, landing calculations, short field takeoff, short field landing already before I came in, so I showed him that, and I told him how I did it. And then he told me to do a high altitude scenario. No problem. Put in the pressure altitude, density altitude, find that, and then calculate and interpolate for your distances. So I did that. Alright, passed the oral test. Gave me a 30-second brief, and walked downstairs, took a small break, took a deep breath, drank some water. And Daniel, thanks for making me drink some of that water. So after that, we came back, or actually we headed out to the plane, and we did some pre-flight, and I did the pre-flight with him watching, and then I showed him the airworthiness certificate, my registration certificate, the POH, the weight and balance, the current weight and balance of the aircraft. So since we did that, continued around the plane, and then when I was pumping the fuel, I was like, have you ever brought blue Gatorade to drink on the ramp to fool anyone? It's like, no, I'm not. And that didn't get him to laugh, so I was kind of like, oh, come on. And then the next thing is, on the other side, my hair starts to get in my face, and I say, oh, I need a haircut. And that makes him laugh, and I'm just like, what? So that was that, and then so we finished the rest of the pre-flight, get in the plane, start the plane, taxi out to the runway, finish the run-up, and we do our takeoff. So this first takeoff he told me to do was a short field takeoff. So we roll onto the runway, keep the nose wheel light, add the full power. We're rolling down the runway, lift off, and then push into ground effect, keeping the ground effect until VY, pull back, maintain VY, reach 75, and climb out. So the first portion of this flight portion test is to head over to the first waypoint. My first waypoint, which was like a Gulf field and a mountain range, and I think it was a high school around there. I'll show you on the screen here. You should be able to see it now. Alright, so that was that. What I learned from it is, don't fly directly over your flight path. Either fly right of your flight path, left of your flight path, or anything like that. This is the reason. It's because if you're climbing, think about it, and you're flying right over your flight path, are you going to be able to see your waypoint? No. So, fly something to the right or the left, and figure out where your waypoint is. Alright, so, I'm flying this route, and I'm flying right over this flight path. That's not good. And I have my flight plan in my lap, and a chart in my hand. So I'm just like, wait, where am I? So I'm looking at my chart, I'm looking at my flight plan, and I look on my GPS. I'm just like, oh, we're right over the point. And it's like, great. Alright, so we calculate how much fuel it took to get here. I took the time, and then, interpolated and all that stuff. Alright, now he wants me to divert, because there was weather behind me. This weather behind me was simulated, so ideally it would be better to go to San Luis Obispo to divert for weather. But he wanted me to divert to the east. And to the east we have a whole bunch of private strips and not a lot of, open, uncontrolled fields. So, I find one, so I start heading that way, which is like it's miles away. So he wants me to calculate ground speed, time, distance, and fuel. My stupid head starts to calculate ground speed, even though ground speed's already on the GPS and the it's like on like 3 of my instruments in the plane. So I'm just like, alright then. So in that case, I try to use the winds that I got this morning, or that morning, from the flight plan, and I used that to calculate ground speed, which didn't make sense. And the DPE was like, is there anything else we could use in the plane? And I'm just like, oh yes, right, man, I forgot. And it was it was being able to use the GPS to find the ground speed. So I get the ground speed there. I get the time, and I get the distance, and I find the fuel. So I got the fuel, and he was okay with it. So alright, let's move on to the next thing. Next thing was steep turns. So we did some steep turns, one to the left, one to the right, no problem there. Next thing was slow flight, no problem there. And then we did this power on stall, power off stall. So power on stall, we did one that was just straight up and down. Power off stall was a 20-degree bank to the right and stall it. So in that case, it will put you it'll try to put you into a spin. But if you correct it correctly, you won't spin, which I did. And then after that we did instrument time, so I put on my hood and we flew around and gave me some vectors, gave me some altitude holds. All that was good. Now it's time for unusual attitudes. So I put my head down like this, closed my eyes, and took a little nap. No, I was expecting him to go up and down like Daniel usually does, but apparently he was more gentle on the controls, and I was like, wait, isn't it supposed to be like, you know, all that stuff? But no, it's just up, down, right, left, whatever. And then he was like, okay, recover. Alright, so I recovered this one, and then we did another one, and recovered that. No problem there. Took off the hood, and we'll head over to a practice area to do some emergency descent. So he's like, okay, you have an engine fire, what are you going to do? I'm going to start descending as fast as I can, and stay under about 110 knots, and see if we can get down to the ground as fast as I can. As I'm doing that, I'm going to pull out the checklist, read the checklist, and do all that. So he said, okay, fire's out, and you can recover. So we never did the actual simulated engine out landing part of that. But he said, we'll go ahead and do that in the pattern work when we go back to the airport. So I was like, okay, makes sense. Then we transitioned into ground reference. So I was really hoping that he would give me turns around a point, but you know, he was like, alright, go over to that highway over there, do your S turns. I want you to do your S turns. So I was like, okay, I'll do my S turns. So I did my S turns, and he said nothing. So I was like, okay, guess I did okay. So we recovered, went back up to 2,500 feet, headed back to the airport, radio in. I was going to fly overhead, join the pattern, the left down for runway 1. Alright, so when we get back in the pattern, we do a short field landing, and a soft field landing, and then a short field takeoff, and all that. And then we come back around, we do an engine out, so we pull the engine out, and then be like Paso Robles traffic, Bay Flight 17 is doing a short approach runway 1. So do that slower approach, did the landing, put the plane on the ground, and he was like, okay, do it again, go around. And then, well, not do it again, but, you know, go around, and we came back around. So this was our last traffic pattern for a normal landing. Actually, no, hold on. Before that, we did the forward slip till landing, and then I go around. Yeah, that's quite explanatory. And then we came back around for the last one. Little did I know that traffic either joined on the left downwind or came in straight in, and I didn't hear it. Because I was verbalizing all my checklist and all that stuff, making sure the DP knew what I was doing, so that's what I did. So I didn't catch this other traffic. So what I was thinking was, since me and this other traffic that I'm following is the only traffic in the pattern, I'm following him, and then I turn my base there, and then I see this traffic coming down on final. Not good. So it was about like 2 miles in front of me. So at the time I didn't register to go around. Stupid enough for me, right? So I did a right 360, and I thought it was fine, but nope. Came back, put the plane down, went to the office. He said, "Okay, you failed." There you go. And we asked him if there's anything possibly we could do to get it done by tomorrow or like today. It's like a quick pattern. He was like, "Well, you're in luck. So super lucky that he had a space open for the next day to get it done, because the next day was next day he had a Checkride that just got canceled. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. So we'll stay the night, and next morning we got up, got on the plane with Daniel, did a pattern, and then we did the same scenario, turned base, and he was like, "Oh yeah, traffic coming in on final. What are you gonna do?" And at this point, I have it ingrained in my head. You can always go around at any point of the pattern, any point in your flight. So okay, I went around, crammed it, and made sure I maintained visual with the traffic going to the runway, and then also maintained the visual with the runway as we were flying next to it. And then we just came back around for another pattern and landed. So that was that. DP came in, did the paperwork again, went out to the plane, did the pre-flight on my own, got on the plane, did everything we needed to do, and we took off. Alright, so this time we're using runway 19, and he was like, "Okay, you have traffic coming in on final, what do you do?" Same thing, go around. So I went around, kept visual, went on the side of the runway so I could keep visual of the runway, and then turned crosswind, downwind, base, came into landing, and then landed. And he was like, "Well, I'm pretty sure you already know, but you passed the Checkride." So I was like, yes. But, you know, it's not over until you put the plane down and secure it. So I did that, and then we went up to his office, and he was like, "Okay, here's your temporary airman certificate. And from here on, I don't want you to stop learning, because this is a license to learn. A private pilot's license is a license to learn." So essentially, you use this license to learn about more on flying. So that's what I plan to do. And so we come back that day, and it was super windy, so we decided to stay up in Paso Robles for a little bit longer, had some lunch, and then we kind of departed somewhere around 2 o'clock ish to 3, and we came back and we landed the plane. This landing was superb. I know Daniel was quite nervous because it was really strong winds. It was a crosswind there. So Daniel did the takeoff in Paso Robles, and then when we came back, I did the landing, and it was one wheel, other wheel, nose wheel, down, and we're good. So when we came back, secured the plane, took pictures, did everything, and kind of said like goodbyes and all that stuff. Ah, man, do I miss Daniel already, being my CFI. You know, if I do have to say something about Daniel, is that Daniel is a really good CFI. He cares about his students, he wants to make friends, and, you know, he's not just a CFI, he's going to be your best friend. Honestly, I mean, if you're looking for someone to help you on your private pilot's license, I recommend Daniel. Daniel is very, he cares about his students like a lot. Like I legit can see he cares about his students, and maybe it's just me and I click well with him, but he's a really good friend. So that's what I have to say. And he always lets you know that you have to drink water. So make sure you bring a bottle of water when you go fly with him. Alright, so that's the Checkride. This was recorded yesterday from when you guys are going to see it now. And yeah, what I plan with doing actually for my first private pilot PIC time, I did night flying, so that was fun. And yeah, I never thought I would, you know, take my parents up for a bay tour, come back over midfield of the San Francisco Airport. Alright, so as you guys might know,
Well, my camera died, so I'll just tell you the rest of the story here. Well, I mean, the story's already finished, but what I was gonna say was that, with my private pilot's license, obviously it's a lesson to learn. Oh, sorry, license to learn, and that I have learned a lot from this check ride more than it was testing me. So I would say lessons I've learned would be to go around whenever you need to. It doesn't matter where you are in the pattern or what phase of flight you are. You can always go around or avoid the traffic. Two is always pay attention to the radio. Make sure you're looking outside all the time. Um, Three would be take your time on calculations. Four is it's okay to fail, but as long as you learn from your mistake. Um, let's see here. The last lesson that I've learned is that you're supposed to don't like directly fly over your waypoint. Make something easy to see and fly off your flight path by to the left or right side. Don't fly directly over it, especially if you're climbing, because if you don't know where your waypoint is, you can't quite see your waypoint. So, yeah, that is that. And I mean, this Saturday, um, this recording was recorded yesterday from the time you guys are gonna see it now. So tomorrow we're taking a pilots and pilots flight, the first charity flight that I'm gonna be doing in my private pilot's license. And I'm happy to because I just really want to use my private pilot's license for good. Because to be honest, if you're gonna get your private pilot's license and it's something expensive, it's just more worthwhile and more fulfilling to do something good for the people around you that don't have that experience and possibly need a transport somewhere. So I mean, as of right now, until I can actually do EAA 20 Young Eagles, I'm gonna continue to do the I'm gonna continue to do charity flights like Pilots and Paws until I'm 18 or I have enough hours and stuff like that to do the rest of the other stuff. But yeah, so far I'm gonna try to spread out the word of aviation to everyone through social media, as you guys are watching here. And on my website, I've also written my check ride story on there. So if you want, the link is down below in the description below. And yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. Go out and do something good for your friends, families, and whoever's around. And stay safe. And I will see you guys in the next video, possibly Wednesday. Have a fantastic rest of the day, everybody. See ya!